Hey YouTube, I just wanted to do a channel update and also show you some really interesting things that are going on at my friend's farm. I'm visiting him on Manitoulin Island, and he's got some really great chicken tractors and some permaculture strategies in place, which I thought people would be pretty interested in. So I'm going to have a look at that, and I also wanted to talk about a couple of channel things. Maybe we'll start off here at the pig pen. So the pigs are currently hiding out in the shade. They're here as a, well, I won't say it too loud in case they hear me, but they're here for food. But they're also performing an essential service, which is breaking up ground for Nick's gardens. So this is a temporary setup, but he's got a plan to move them over to a spot specifically for them to break up garden ground before they see the end of their days. This video is going to be a little bit out of sequence with some of my other stuff because I had a hard drive failure. I had all my files on it, which is really tragic. I was really sad about that. All my bear hunt videos and 3 days of fishing with Steve, and then I kind of lucked out. Oh, and fishing with the Wooded Beardsman. But I lucked out because my camera card, I never deleted it. So I luckily was able to recover 2 sets of raw footage there. I just have to re-edit the videos. And I had sent a copy of all my bear hunting stuff to Fuel the Fire TV, and luckily they still have all my files, my raw footage files there. So it just has been more of a delay than a setback. I also want to give a shout out to Mick, who's been a big channel supporter on Patreon. So thanks a lot for that, Mick. And Rocky Prince, who was my first Patreon supporter. I don't know if I properly shouted him out, but I wanted to say thanks to him as well. And everybody else who's been liking and subscribing and commenting and interacting. I recently hit 18,000 subscribers, which was maybe a new milestone for me, and I'm pretty excited about that, and excited to keep putting out videos and see the channel continue to grow. Growing grapes. That's what's going on here. There are 6 acres of grapes, and I've learned more about grapes in the last couple of days than I ever knew before. So part of what we've been doing is going through and ruthlessly following a pruning regimen, which is actually really hard to do. It's kind of shocking. So like you pinch or cut, we usually cut all these little side branches at the tops of the grape clusters. Those come off, and then there's a whole pruning system about how many of these cordons, the big vines, you keep on, and then how many of the smaller vines, how you tie them up on the lines. So that's been pretty cool. These grapes are, some of them are 20 years old. And there's a few different varieties here, so there's been many vintages of wine come off this property. One of only 2 vineyards within a few hundred kilometers of here, so that's very unique, and it's pretty cool. A lot of work managing a vineyard, a lot of grass cutting, but Nick has enlisted, oh, did you hear them? Enlisted some help, which includes these noisy characters over here. Hey girls, would you, you drank all your water. Let's top you up. So the sheep are also a really fantastic food animal. I know, it's tragic. But that's what sheep are really good for. Yum yum yum. They're also really good for pruning in between the rows of grapes. So a couple times a day, what we've been doing is we move ahead, we trim the grapevines, and then this whole structure is on wheels and we roll it along, and the sheep basically graze down all the grass and then also return nutrients to the soil for free, for a little bit of labor. on your part and their part. So if you kind of look at the row they're on and the row they haven't been on, you can see there's a big difference in how much grass is there and how much work they kind of do for you. And you know, the most important part is that they're part of an organic rotation here, returning nutrients to the soil. And those aren't his only helpers. So he's also got a bunch of chicken tractors on the go here, a whole bunch of different designs. So I wanted to give you a peek at those in case you're also thinking of doing a chicken tractor. I have a movable coop that I've been circling kind of around my garden, and my chickens have been eating all the grass and returning nutrients to the soil for me as well. My next chickens are a little bit older than mine, so he's also getting eggs right now. But these guys are not laying eggs yet. These are the babies. Hey, you guys are the babies. Here, have a blade of grass. Oh, I need a grated blade of grass. No, you got tons in there. What these guys want to eat is bugs. They're so excited. When you roll this forward, the first thing they do is they run all around in the grass. They eat up all the bugs. And then as a last resort, they start to chew up the grass. And again, they're returning nutrients to the soil. So this whole structure is made of recycled materials. It's just got a handbar for lifting and pulling. It's really nice to have an open front so that you can dump scratch feed in the top and see how all your little guys are doing. And then it's really nice to have most of it as a shade shelter to keep the chicks cool in there when it's hot out and a little bit warm in there when it's cold out. Now, Nick's chicken tractors have several different door designs. I actually prefer the one on one of the other ones. It just has a lifting top, and then you can reach down and access things. And then he's using this this system here for wheels, which works sometimes good and sometimes not so good. But this pin, you actually can pull it out. There's another hole further down, so if you lift the chicken tractor, you can pin that other pin, and then the wheels are carrying more of the weight. Right now when we move this one, it just sort of drags a little bit, but seems to be okay. So as far as I can tell from working with, I don't know, he's got six or seven different chicken tractors here. I'll show you a few more. Some of the key features are you need to hang your feet in water so that they're always level. If you have them on the ground, it's too easy for them to tip if you're on uneven ground, or for your chickens to tip them if they're getting rowdy in there. So that's really important. The chicken nipple waterers that you can put into PVC pipe or into 5-gallon pails or other containers are really, really awesome. There's hardly any spilled water. Your bucket keeps clean. Your chickens learn how to use them pretty quickly. And as far as I can tell, that's like the most efficient way to water chickens without mess and without waste. Here, Nick calls these ones the teenagers. They're not old enough to lay eggs yet, but they eat voraciously. So again, this one's got a lifting bar. So this is a one-person lift, although sometimes it goes a lot better with two. Open front. Instead of using the tarp paper the tarp for a roof on this one, it's got a tin roof, which also works really, really well. Sheds all the rain. And the same wheel system at the back, where there's a few different holes at different heights, and you can basically lift the back up and then move your pin, in this case it's a big nail, to set the wheels at different heights to help drag it around. This one is also 4x8. So that last one was a 4x8. This one's a 4x8. And the vines are 9 feet apart, so you know, something that's 8 feet wide, like the lambs, that's a lot harder to fit it in between the rows. You sometimes are bumping vines or posts. But these, 4 feet wide, they go through really well. I mean, if you look down the row on the left, you can see where the chickens have eaten a lot of the grass, and on the right where they haven't been, you have that tall grass. I think you probably could have a chicken tractor for every row here, and you would never run out of pasture for them. By the time you get them from the one end down to the other end, and then back on the other side, you know, all that tall grass, back to the start, you're gonna have plenty of grass grown in behind you, and you could be constantly rotating them through. They're eating all your pest insects, they're eating your grass and returning nutrients to the soil for you. In return, they're getting a lot of their feed from the pasture, so that really cuts your food bill. You don't have to feed them as much grain or other foods. And they're here to do a service for the vines, but also, I didn't realize this, but when you're managing these vines, I showed you, like, we cut all the little, like there's one that's been, I gotta move my camera here. So we've, oh, frog, you're gonna have a rough time of it if you get in with those chickens. That'll be the end of you. But when you remove all these side ones, or where was another good example I just saw? Oh yeah, like a little mini cluster like this. Those don't stay, those all get cut or pinched off. The chickens love this stuff, so they're eating tons of it. And when you go in there, boink, and down they go. Goodbye, grapes. Then when you're cutting a lot of this leafy stuff off, when you're trimming for length or unnecessary suckers, you throw that in the sheep pen, and they gobble that right up as well. So there's a very circular movement of nutrients and materials in this operation. Very complementary, very efficient. You know, and I think it requires about 2 hours of chores per day. So once in the morning, going around, feed, water, move the coops, check the eggs, and then in the afternoon about an hour of feed, water, move the coops, check the eggs. The coops only get moved once a day, except the teenagers, they eat more, so they get moved twice a day. I'd have to do some quick math and figure out how many rows there are here. I think there's 100 rows of grapes. So let's say you had 6 or 8 chickens, adult chickens, each in a chicken tractor, 100 rows. You could have 600 or 800 chickens here, laying eggs, and then you could butcher them in the winter, sell them all as soup birds, or if you're raising like a dual purpose breed, you could have broilers and roasters. Your feed bills are cut, and instead of them all pooping in a chicken yard at home, you know, here they're returning valuable nutrients to the soil. Like that's a good system, and there's lots of ways to be clever about working that into your backyard or into your bigger operation for sure. Okay, this coop moves a little bit better. Look at that, just recycled materials, eh? Old piece of plywood, an old cupboard handle. I think the wheels were all bought new. They're like little wagon wheels. So this one here I like, where it actually extends quite a bit further back. That works good. This one here has a nice tow bar again, but Nick built this one with the full top, so he said like when he would have it set back and have that mesh screen on the top, because it lets you pour food down onto the ground for the chickens to scratch feed. And these are the old girls, eh? So these guys also have nest boxes and lay eggs. So on top of critical features being hanging food, hanging water, you also want your nest boxes easily accessible so that when you open the door, you can get at them without getting... Oh, you guys, I gotta open the door. There was a cricket there. It lasted half a second. So your nest boxes are right there and reachable. Nick found that the birds lay much better if they have a little curtain. They love that. They just push in past it and they can sit in the dark and lay their eggs in private. You guys gonna eat those ants? You are gonna eat those ants. And they're pretty slim pickings, eh? This hen's a silky, that's why she's got a bit of a interesting hairdo. She's part silky. It's so hot out today, my camera, I can feel it overheating. I just have a few things to show you. Hopefully that wind isn't messing with the microphone. Let's go visit a bigger chicken tractor. This one moves really nicely. It's got solid wheelchair tires for the back, and these work great. They've got all the weight on them right now. You can take the weight off of the tires by, I guess there's just this bolt here, so you could move this board and then you'd have the weight off your tires, and then the shelter would just be sitting flat, which would also help to keep like critters out. And this is the design I like, so you can see it's mostly closed in, but it's got an open square in the front corner, so that front corner lifts up and you can access the water. This back corner lifts up and you can access the nesting boxes. So 9 hens and a rooster in here. These are all laying girls. They're warm. You can see them panting a bit today, but they're definitely getting some shade advantage from the cover here and the breeze. So there's a few examples of different chicken tractors that you're able to just kind of put together with found or bought or leftover or recycled materials. There are lots of great designs out there, and like no shortage of designs. Very easy to manage once you've got them set up. Ooh, I thought I stepped on a live thing. My imagination's running rampant because there's like old cut vines everywhere on the ground, and Nick was telling me about a 36-inch milk snake that he hit with the lawnmower by accident. Now I just keep thinking there's going to be big snakes everywhere. Security. So I think Nick's not worried about predators here so much because the vineyard has a 7-strand electric fence all the way around it, and that keeps out most of the non-flying problematic critters. So it's really hard for raccoons to get in here, almost impossible for deer and bear to get in here. Chipmunks can get underneath, squirrels can get under or over, and his biggest problem is with birds, but mostly that's going to keep out, foxes and coyotes. None of those guys are going to get in here to bother those chickens. I'm really interested to come back here in a couple months for the grape harvest, which I think should be interesting. I could probably film a little bit of it if you want to see that. Drop a comment below. I haven't made it here for a grape harvest yet, but because of my sabbatical and because of COVID, I think this year is the year. Here's another coop, another tow bar, screen top, tarp top. Again, a pretty effective wheel design on this one. They're low to the ground, so when you lift the front, they roll really well on the wheels. Works good. Recycled door. There's the waterer. Oh, you guys like to sneak out, I think I remember. So So this is the pail. It's good if it's got a lid on to keep the dirt out, and then it's just got the nipple water. There. Oh, thanks for demonstrating, honey. That's how they get their water. No spillage, nice and clean. Pair of underwear for a curtain. I know you'd like to see that. Apparently it works really, really good. And there they are. So I kind of came here to relax and hang out. So we've been doing a little bit of chores here and there, but now I got all these little projects in mind. I'm like, oh, I really like how this is done here and this is done here, and I like how everything's complementary. So I have to make some changes, and what I do, changes and additions. Asparagus, good perennial crop. Strawberries, another good perennial crop. Raspberries, good perennial crop. Some rhubarb. Ask the farmer. Hey, what's this stuff with the purpley flower here?
Oregano.
Oh, it's oregano. Oh yeah, okay. Well, that's a big oregano bush. This place has one of the most fantastic outhouse views of any outhouse I've been in.